So let's start seated for today's practice. Maybe seated on your blanket. And taking a minute to arrive on your mat, to notice your breath, and to check in and see how things are feeling. And if you find you've got something that needs to move, a shoulder that needs a shrug, back that needs a little length, go right ahead. Bring that movement in. And then tune in to notice your breath. And just notice if your internal atmosphere feels nice and calm and quiet today. If it feels noisy. If it feels like it would be easy to focus or challenge. And just notice what state you're in. And today's practice is a neat mix. We're taking some extra care of the back today. At this time of year, we often spend a little more time seated and a little less time moving. That can show up in our backs. So we have a little extra care for the back. And we'll also focus on a couple different principles of alignment that those of you who were in Tai Chi this morning will be familiar with. So as you're seated here, you might just take a moment to notice if it feels like both sits bones are connected to your blanket or your mat. And that might be found by just shifting a little side to side and seeing if you can feel both little bony bumps connected down. Or sometimes you might only feel one. See if you wiggled around and shifted, if you could find both. And you might even try tipping the hips forward and back a little to help find your connection to the mat. And then once we have that nice solid foundation, go ahead and lift through the crown with your next inhale. Finding some length in the spine. You might give your chin a little micro tuck in. And then let's explore a little bit of movement for the back. We'll start off with this side bend. One hand down, the other hand could tuck behind the back. Or we might go ahead and reach up and over. Use an inhale, bring it up all the way. Let the exhale take it back up and over. So these side bends can be a big help if you've been seated a lot. Inhale up, exhale up and over. And then if it's comfy, we might even take that hand down a little toward the mat, finding a hint of a twist. Inhale it back up and we'll rise tall. Both fingertips, both hands reach. Exhale, float them back behind. You might anchor into the hands and lift the ribs, a deep breath here. Exhale, find center. Check to see if both hips anchor down. Lift tall through the crown. And when you exhale, let's find that side bend. Maybe just tucking one hand behind the back, or maybe we reach it. Inhale it tall. Exhale, take it up and over. Check and see if that opposite hip stays anchored. Inhale tall. One more exhale, up and over. And then if it's comfy, we might even float that arm down, finding just a little hint of a twist. And then inhale it up. All the way tall. Exhale, this time settle the hands to the heart. Take a little pause, notice how things feel. And then float fingertips back, anchor and lift the ribs up. And you might just notice if your back feels happier here than it does seated straight up. Inhale tall, fingertips float. Exhale, settle hands back to the heart. Now, if your legs are crossed, You can keep them crossed this way. We're headed for a forward fold. If they need to wiggle around and move, you can move them. You can switch the leg. We'll have a chance to forward bend again to keep it even. Inhale up. Exhale, hinge from the hips. Seated forward bend might just be a couple inches forward, or you might come down further if that feels good. Can you breathe into that low back? And if it's an option, if it's available, you might walk the hands over to one side. Inhale back, 2 and through center. Exhale, hands to side 2, maybe settle those hips away. Inhale to center. Slowly walking it back up to seated. Take a little shift side to side. Switching the legs if the legs were crossed. Use an inhale to sweep them up tall. Exhale, fold from the hips. Let the hips start that motion, and we might settle here, or we might sink a little lower. Breathing here. And we might hold this shape, or we can walk the hands over to one side, trying to settle your hips away from your hands. And then walk them back over to side 2. When you find an inhale, use it to come to center. One last breath here. And then inhale, bringing your way back up towards seated. Check in, notice how things feel. Seeing if anything feels different than when we first started. And then when you're ready, let's go ahead and send these legs out long. You might keep the blanket under the hips, or you might slide your hips down, just using the blanket to help keep the pelvis in neutral. And just notice here in Dandasana, does it feel like your hips are trying to tip back? Do they feel like they're nice and level, helping to hold you up? How do they feel? And if you bend your knees, especially if they feel like they tip back, if you bend your knees, does that help you draw them back to a more neutral spot? From your Dandasana, take an inhale up and exhale, hinge and fold. Breathing into the back, inviting a little length to the back of the legs. And then inhale, sweep it back tall. And as you exhale, we'll find a gentle twist. Now you can bend your knees, especially if it feels like you're sitting like this. Bend your knees for this twist so the spine can be tall. If it's comfy to have the legs long, we can stay there. We'll use an exhale to take us gentle twist to one side. Inhale back to center. Exhale, gentle twist. Inhale back to center. One more, exhale, gentle twist. Spine stays tall. Pausing for a round of breath. And then gently release to center. See if anything needs a wiggle. And then we'll try side 2. So again, the knees might be a little bent if it feels like you're tipping back when you sit here. Use the exhale to find a gentle twist. The inhale to bring you to center. The exhale brings us to a gentle twist. Nice tall back, lengthening through the crown. Inhale, center. Last one, gentle twist. And then inhale back to center. Nice work. Yogi's choice. You might send the hands back and float the ribs up if that feels good. You can hinge for another forward bend if that feels good. Or take a moment to bring in a little movement here. finding what feels best. Maybe that's a wiggle or a bend of the knees and a rock side to side. Now, yogi's choice next. We're headed to all fours and we'll be on all fours for a little bit. So if you're not comfortable working from all fours, you can take all of the same motions we will from all fours, except for cat and cow. You can take those all laying down on the back. So if you need to stay off the arms or wrists for any reason today, you might stay seated for a cat and cow, and then you'll come down to your back for the other movements, just in case you need that today. If it's comfy to find all fours, we'll make our way there. And I'd invite you to tuck that blanket in under the knees. We have a few shapes that we're taking from all fours, and that blanket will help keep those knees happier. So when you find all fours, we'll take a little shift side to side. And then we'll talk a little bit about the arms here. So a lot of times we go here and we just like, okay, hands on the mat, I'm good. But I'd like to talk a little about the arms. So when we're here, this is a great place to play with spinning our biceps forward or externally rotating the arms. And you can do that here by thinking of that part where you make a muscle, your biceps. See if you can rotate that forward. And what it might feel like is your shoulder moving back from your ear. Yeah, see if we can do that, bringing the biceps forward. And then we'll see if it can stay there while we exhale to round for cat. Inhale to arch for cat. And check in with your hands. See if that first finger is anchored to the mat. So when we press down, we're pressing through the whole hand. Not just the fingers, not just the wrist. One more each way. And then settle the hips back for a child pose. Relax the neck, gentle rock, side to side for the eyebrow area if it feels good. Maybe walk hands to one side and settle the hips away. Inhale to center. Exhale, maybe hands to side two, settle the hips away. Inhale to center. Let the next inhale bring you back up to all fours. And we'll talk about one more piece for these arms here. So we'll think of spinning those biceps forward. That's externally rotating the shoulders. It'll help take the shoulders back and down from your ears. And then if you can manage it, you might think about that bicep going forwards and the forearm starting to spin the opposite way. The forearm actually spins in a little. And what that does, it wakes up all these muscles in the arm, all the muscles in the forearm and the upper arm to really give you a strong support. And if it doesn't make sense, don't worry. If you just bring the bicep forward and press evenly through the hands, you'll get a lot of it. But if your brain can manage thinking of bicep going forward and forearm spinning in, you might find that really gives you a nice firm base. We can use that firm base as we send our left toes back, right fingertips forward. Keep that firm base as you float for sun dog or chakrasana. You can stay put here. Or go ahead and bring that right hand down and we'll try something a little different. Bring the knee bending again. Now bring the knee down, up and out so that the left foot actually comes to the mat. Your left knee points out to the side. So if you were watching me do this from another angle, it's gonna look kind of like this. Yeah, How's it feel to be there? And then you might explore pressing into that right hand nice and even. See if you could float that left hand up from here. And if you can, we might start to open to the side. And then we can bring that hand, reach the hand away from the hips, sweep it down to the mat. Inhale, open to the side. So this is going to help get that quadratus lumborum muscle. We'll try it one more time if it's comfy. Open to the side. Again, listen to your body. If your back doesn't like it, it's okay to skip. Or settle hips away from hand, hand away from hips. And find all fours once again. Then go ahead and we'll press evenly. Spin the biceps forward. Press evenly through the palms. See about sliding and floating that left heel back up. Before we switch sides, knee to nose, foot between palms. Inhale, sweep it tall. Kneeling lunge. Exhale, hands to heart. Now you pick, we can just hold here, especially if you've been really busy. Just holding the shape is great. Or if you've got those blocks, we'll take a little flow here to half monkey. Shifting the hips back and sliding that heel forward. If you can see, that's our half monkey. We lengthen the back of the leg here. Then anchor the foot down, inhale it for your kneeling lunge. Exhale, fold and shift, half of monkey. Kneeling lunge. One more half of monkey, taking a breath here. And then bring that left foot to the mat. Go ahead and frame it. Slide the left heel back. And your choice, you've got time for a sun dog, time to play in same side sun dog by floating the left hand if you'd like, or you might find a little tiger pose, taking heel to hip and connecting, and pressing and anchoring. Exhale, gently release, hand and knee to mat. Take a little shift side to side. Here comes the sun here. No rush, no hurry. Maybe a cat-cow, or it's yogi's choice. Excuse me. You can send the hips back to the heels to rest in child pose. Or there's time for 3 vinyasa flows. Down dog to plank, knees touch chin or chaturanga, and cobra or up dog. And take your time for yogi's choice and find what feels best. Notice your breath as you do. And notice where your brain goes. For me, when we're in between the sides, my brain's like, okay, we gotta do that other side. Keep everything nice and balanced. So if your brain does that too, know that I'm gonna hold on to that for you. I'll keep that sequence in mind so that you can just enjoy your rest or your flow. And then when you're ready, no rush or hurry, let's start to make our way to meet back on all fours. And as you find all fours this time, we might take a little walk of the hands over to one side, making that C shape with the back. Our cat contemplating its tail. We might walk them over to side 2. And then we'll inhale our way back to center. So spin the biceps forward, shoulders back from ears. Anchor evenly through the hands, maybe even thinking of spinning the forearm in slightly. Reach the right toes back. Use that nice steady base to see if the left arm wants to float. Maybe finding our bird dog or sun dog pose. And then go ahead and send the hand to the mat. Bend the knee and we'll see about taking that foot out to the side. So I'll spin so it might be a little easier to see. So those right toes are pointing out to the side, 90 degrees away from the top of the mat. And you might just stay here like this. Or if it's comfy, we might explore if we could float that right hand up. Finding a little side bend. And then we'll reach forward, hand reaches away from the hip and circles down. We can inhale and open if it feels good. Reach it forward and down. One more if you like. Nice work. And then as the hand finds the mat, we'll take a little pause here. Ground evenly into the palms, biceps forward. Go ahead and slide and float that right heel back. Exhale, knee to nose, foot between palms. Setting up for our kneeling lunge. We inhale our way tall. Exhale, hands to heart. And we might just stay here and settle. This is a great spot to check in with the hips. Are they trying to hinge forward here? If they are, see if you can bring them into neutral. You can stay put or go ahead and fold, frame the foot, maybe with your blocks. Slide the hips back. There's our half of monkey. Foot grounds down, inhale, kneeling lunge. Exhale, frame, sink hips back for half of monkey. One more, foot anchors down. Inhale, kneeling lunge. Exhale, fold, half monkey. And then we'll frame the foot, invite the foot back, anchor evenly through the hands, biceps forward. And yogi's choice, you might play with bird dog. You might play with same side sun dog, floating that right arm up. You might play with taking the heel to the hip, the left hand back, playing with a little tiger pose. Can you breathe? And then gently release the leg. We'll make our way toward all fours. Yogi's choice, we can round and arch our cat and cow. We can sink hips back, taking a break in child pose, where there's time enough for 3 vinyasa flows. And tune into what your body would like today in this moment. And notice how your back feels. Where does your back feel strong? And where does your back feel open and spacious? And what else do you feel from your back? Does your back feel tight, achy? Notice where those parts are. And then if there's anything kind of achy or tight or some discomfort, see if you can take your next breath in toward the back. And trying to take the breath right to that spot. And when you exhale, you might invite that tension to leave. And then no rush or hurry. But when you finish that third flow, we'll start to make our way back to meet. And we have another little piece here from all fours. So being gentle and kind, think of spinning the biceps forward. Go ahead and send those left toes back. We'll float the left heel and then we'll invite that left knee to come down outside of the right leg. Our goal here is to help lengthen some of those muscles around the hips. So we can sink the hips back to find a stretch. You might find plenty of stretch here. We can separate the heels to bring the hips down to the mat for more. And these are cow face pose legs. But today I'd invite you to stay down, using this to focus on the hips. And can you breathe into the hips, letting your back saddle over the knees. As you inhale, gently lift, walking your way back toward all fours. Go ahead and spin the biceps forward, anchor through the palms as you float the left heel back up. And then draw the knee through, foot between palms. Inhale up for that kneeling lunge. We might just hold it, or we might take that right hand up and over to the left. Inhale tall, exhale up and over left. Inhale tall, one more up and over to the left. And then inhale tall, exhale hands to heart. Explore if it would be comfy to open the torso to the left, finding a little half twist. And you could stay put here, or you might play with connecting elbow outside the thigh. You can stay put just like this, or you could float the back knee for a little more length. Can you breathe when you're here? Then we'll gently release it to center. Inhale it tall. Exhale, hinge and fold. Frame the foot. Anchor through the palms and we'll slide or step back to all fours or high plank. Spin the biceps forward. Maybe the forearms spin in. Nice solid anchor. Exhale, shift and lift, downward facing dog. Can you keep the biceps spinning forward here? Hands really anchor to the mat. Pedal in, bend one knee and the other. And then as you exhale, float the knees to the mat, finding all fours. And see if anything like cat and cow are needed. And then from all fours, we'll find a nice long back. Press and float that right heel behind you. And let the knee tuck down outside the left. And depending on how things feel, we might just send our hips back a couple inches and get a good stretch. Or you can settle the hips down between the heels. Again, I'd invite you to soak in the hip stretch. It's okay to lift up if you need. Breathing while you're here. Maybe noticing if this side is different than side one. And when you find an inhale, slowly walking it forward. Anchor through the whole hand, biceps forward, float the right heel up. And then exhale, knee to nose, foot between palms. Inhale, draw it tall for your kneeling lunge. Where again, we might just hold and stay. Just holding here with that neutral pelvis is a great thing to do. Or we could take that left wrist and take it up and over to the right. Inhale back to center. Exhale, take that left wrist up and over to the right. Inhale, center. Exhale, left wrist up and over. And inhale to center. See about floating hands to heart. Might stay put, Or we might start to open the torso to the right, finding our little twist. I'll spin around so it's easier to see. We can stay put just like this. Or we can take elbow outside the knee. Maybe we hold here. Maybe we float the back knee if you like. Just an option. Can you breathe? Gently release with the inhale. Maybe sweep fingertips up. Exhale, hinge and fold. Frame the foot. Slide or step back, all fours or high plank. Anchoring through the hands, biceps spin forward. Exhale, shift and lift, hips high. Downward facing dog. Pedal in, bend one knee and the other. Yogi's choice, stay here, 5 breaths. Bring it down to rest in child pose. And there's time enough for 3 vinyasa flows if you'd like them. Choosing what feels best for your back and your body. And again, you might just notice here, like if there's another movement your body wants, maybe it's attention for the wrists, go right ahead. Maybe it's attention for your neck. No rush or hurry. Noticing your breath. And eventually, when you're ready, we'll meet back on the mat. Back to all fours. And see if your back could use a little cat or cow, a little shift side to side. And then we'll curl the toes in underneath. Anchor through the palms, spin the biceps forward, the forearms in. Exhale, shift and lift, downward facing dog. Pedal in, bend one knee and the other. As you exhale, walk feet to hands or hands to feet. Finding forward bend. Relax the neck. Gentle nod yes or slow shake no. Maybe cradle, opposite elbow and rock. As you exhale, bend the knees, hips move back behind. Core supports the back up to your chair. Next inhale takes it tall. Exhale, Tadasana or mountain pose. Seeing if anything needs a little shake or shrug as you get there. Anchor evenly through the feet, connecting all 4 corners to the mat. Check in with the pelvis now that you're standing. Does it feel like it tips? Try to bring it to neutral if you can. Lift through the crown of the head, seeing if you can be pressing down through the feet and lifting through the crown at the same time. And notice how it feels to stand this way. You can open palms if that helps with the shoulders. Nice. And then yogi's choice here. If you're feeling like, okay, back is happy, trying to hold Tadasana with a nice neutral pelvis, that's plenty, stay put. Or we'll start to add in a little more motion for the back. Now we'll start off just with a little motion for the feet. We'll take a little tap of one foot behind the other, and then switching sides. Now your choice here. You might just stay put with this. This is a little bit of a brain teaser, crossing a limb over the midline. So this is plenty. Or this can become Lasyasana. And Lasyasana is like crescent moon, except when we have that foot behind, we're gonna reach up and over to that side. Try to keep the bottom arm active too. You can inhale the center and then we cross the foot and reach up and over if you like. Finding center, cross and reach. Inhale, center. Exhale, cross and reach. You can take one more each way if you like. This is a nice one again if you've been seated a lot lately. And then coming back to center, float hands to the heart. Anchor through the feet, find that nice neutral pelvis. And then let's explore what happens here if we take and shift our weight to that right foot, floating that left knee up. Notice if you can anchor through the foot, lift through the crown, and keep that pelvis in neutral. Go ahead and invite the toes to the back of the mat, taking a big step back for a high lunge. As you exhale, settle hands to the heart. We're trying to keep the pelvis relatively neutral here if we can. And then yogi's choice. We can stay put like this, or we can find a little twist, taking the torso open to the right, maybe connecting knee outside elbow, maybe opening the arms if you like, and then exhale, cartwheel them down, frame the right foot, spin the back toes out. Inhale up for a warrior two. Take hands to the hips, check in with the pelvis. See if it's in neutral or if it's tipped forward. See what you could do to help it find neutral. And then we might float the arms again. We might tuck left hand back, right arm up, reverse warrior. Inhale, just warrior two. Exhale, reverse it. Inhale, warrior two. One more. And then you choose, if your legs feel good here, we'll stay in warrior two. If you want to give them a break at any point, bring that leg up, toes over, so that you're standing in a wide leg stance. Go ahead, take the right arm up and back, the left arm back and down, finding those cow face arms in your warrior two, or in your standing with legs apart. And then no rush, no hurry. When you're ready, we release the arms, rebend the knee. Next, inhale, sweep fingertips tall, spin the toes to the side. Exhale, hinge from the hips, wide-legged forward fold. Relax the neck, gentle nod yes or slow shake no. Feel free to walk the hands to one side and the other. You can also rock elbows if that feels good for the back. Or Skandasana, our side lunging shape. That's an option here too. Taking your time, again, no rush or hurry. Skandasana can stay high, doesn't have to go low. And then when you're ready, let's all meet in that wide leg forward bend. Turn the heels in, exhale, settle hips down. Inhale, find Devyasana, find that goddess pose. Taking a breath here. Neutral hips as best you can. Inhale it up tall. Exhale, float the arms by the side. See if the shoulders need a shrug. And then let's go ahead and reposition the feet so those right toes head to the top of the mat. The back foot points out to the side. We'll find our warrior two. Exhale, cartwheel it down, frame the foot. Deep breath here. Exhale, step back, full fours or high plank, one breath. Exhale, shift and lift, downward facing dog. A brief yogi's choice. Stay here for 3 breaths. Time enough for 1 vinyasa flow or a short rest in child pose. Just choosing what feels best. And when you find an inhale, we'll make our way back to down dog if we weren't there already. Exhaling the hips high. And then we'll start to take a walk, a few steps or maybe a hop to the top of the mat. Finding forward bend. Relax the neck, gentle nod yes or slow shake no. If it feels good, soften the knees. Maybe with a hand to a block for a long back. To take one arm up, half twist. Exhale down, inhale up. Exhale down, inhale lift. Keeping the hips and the head moving away from each other if you find the twist. One more each way again, if it's comfy, just an option. Okay to come to Tadasana if you're ready to come up. For one last exhale here. Then bending the knees, belly button to spine, inhale to your chair. Utkatasana, belly button supports back. Rise tall and exhale Tadasana. Mountain pose. Taking a little shake. Rounding through the feet. Lifting through the crown and checking for that nice neutral pelvis. And maybe we just stay in Tadasana for a bit. Or maybe we start to shift the weight to that left foot. Floating the right knee and seeing if we can keep that pelvis neutral. Maybe we send the toes to the back of the mat. Finding our high lunge or crescent lunge. And then again, you might take a moment to lengthen the side if it feels good, or settle the hands to the heart. And then take that half twist, maybe just staying tall with it. If it's comfy, elbow might go outside the knee. Maybe opening the arms if that feels good. Returning to center on an inhale. Exhale to fold it down, frame the foot. Back toes turn out. Inhale, cartwheel up your warrior 2. Checking to make sure left knee heads out over the left toes. Hands to the hips, see if they're relatively neutral. The back hip might be trying to come forward a little. That's okay in warrior 2. But we want to try to avoid having our hips sticking out behind us. Now we might just stay here, or we might send right hand back, left hand up, reversing our warrior. Inhale, warrior 2. Exhale, maybe reverse. Inhale, warrior 2. Exhale, maybe reverse. And then inhale, warrior 2. Your choice, legs can stay here or come to wide legs. We'll try taking that left arm up and back, right arm back and down. Finding those cow face pose arms on side 2. Breathing here. Being kind to the shoulders as well. Then inhale, find that warrior 2. Float the leg long, spin the toes to the side. Inhale, fingertips up. Exhale, hinge from the hips, wide leg forward bend. Relax the neck, gentle nod yes or slow shake no. And you choose, you can again visit those side lunges, either high or low. You can cradle elbows and rock. If you need a little energy today, you can bend your knees, spin the biceps out, press into the palms and play with a hop. That's a way to find a little energy if you need it. Just taking what feels best and finding center when you're ready. Heels in, toes out. Exhale the hips low. Inhale, finding goddess pose. Inhale, rise and lift. Exhale, reposition left toes to the top of the mat. Right toes out to the side. Here's our warrior two. Exhale, cartwheel down, frame the foot. Slide or step back. All fours or high plank. One breath. Exhale, hips high. Downward facing dog. Pedal in and yogi's choice. Time for 3 flows. Time for rest. Or time for anything else your body is requesting and craving today. And taking your time to notice how your back feels. And seeing if you can move your breath toward your back. No rush, no hurry with it. And then as you find your way toward the end of that last flow, or when you find you're ready to make your way up from the child's pose, we'll inhale to make our way back towards seated. Taking a pause to check in with our seat. Maybe that same seat we took when we started class. Could be hips on the blanket. And just notice how things feel. Notice how your body and back feel. And check in, see how that internal atmosphere is doing. And then yogi's choice next. We have a couple different options. I have a stretchy one if you want to keep going with one that'll help hips and back. Or I have a nice, soft, gentle one to rest in. So I'll show you the rest first, so you can go to this at any point. Again, you don't have to use all the proppy things, but if you have them, you might run your pillow or your bolster for under your back and your rib cage. And then you might use a block for the head. And we'll take this little variation on a heart opener. You might have to play to get the right height for the block so that your neck is comfy. You can turn it down if your pillow is a little bit shorter than mine. And then you can let the arms and the shoulders sink in that space in between your pillow and your block. Your legs can be wherever they're comfy. This is a gentle heart opener. It's a nice one to help put the back in a little extension, help open the shoulders. So feel free to go there and take a rest. Or if you want a little more stretchiness for the hips, where we might play is fire log pose. That's another reason to have all these props. Fire log is sometimes called double pigeon. And we're going to make a triangle with the legs. So I'll take my heel out away from the hip, and I'll try to stack an ankle on the knee. Now that might mean that the knee is way up here. If it's okay to be there, just use your blanket and or your block to tuck in under that knee to fill that space. And then you can sit tall with a little hinge at the hip. And depending, what you need, something I like about a blanket here is we can really custom tailor that height. to support the knee. The feet both have a little flex to keep the knees safe. And again, we might be hinging a little. Can you breathe here? And so if you're in our gentle supported heart opener, you want to be 98% comfortable. If you're in double pigeon, there might be a little discomfort, but we want to make sure we can breathe into it. We want to back it off if we can't breathe or if it feels too intense. You know, putting a little bit of stress on our systems is healthy to a point. It's called eustress. That kind of stress helps us to grow. It helps our bones to stay strong. It helps our ligaments to stay flexible. But there comes a point where that good stress can turn into bad stress if we push too far. So make sure you're in a spot where if we were going to stay here for 10 minutes, that wouldn't cause a panic. And we'll just take one more breath in this side if you're in a fire log. And then gently make your way back to center. And you can support that leg as we get ready to move to side two. Maybe taking a pause in between to rock the knees a little side to side, some windshield wiper. And then we'll do the same thing on side two, switching the leg that's on the bottom now. And this side could be really different. This side, maybe it needs a block and a blanket, that's okay. Or maybe this side, that knee drops right to the foot. We keep that little flex in both feet if you're in fire log. The Sanskrit for this is Agni Stambhalasana. And again, you know, just find a spot where it feels supported. That's my favorite thing there with the blanket. So I can put as much or as little as I like. And then I can hinge from the hips and breathe into the shape. Again, being kind to the body as we do. And just notice, you know, there can be a big difference from one side to the other. Notice if that's your experience. Sometimes if you can breathe into the stretch, you'll find things let go a little bit. You might be able to sink a little lower. Or maybe you can move part of the blanket. And then when you're ready, when you feel like side two has had plenty of attention, go ahead and use an inhale to gently work your way back up. Maybe taking a moment to give the knees a little rock side to side. And then we'll start to make our way down toward the mat. No rush, no hurry. And that you have a pillow and a blanket, you might set yourself up for final relaxation. Just like you were tucking yourself into bed with a blanket to cover you and a pillow under your head. Perfectly fine to do anything else too, maybe having the knees bent. If you find you need to take a little motion when you come down to the back, go right ahead to rock the knees. Or maybe the legs need a little twist, or the back rather needs a little twist. We might take the legs to the side to do that. Go right ahead to take any motion you need. And then when you're ready, set yourself up for the most comfortable Shavasana you can today. That might mean tucking that pillow in under the knees or under your head. When you find a spot that you can take for final relaxation, notice your breath. As you exhale, you might invite the back to sink and soften down. And taking care to release any tension around the jaw or the corners of the eyes. And taking these next few minutes to simply be without having to do anything. If you're able to take a long Shavasana today, please do. Or you might start to wiggle the fingers and the toes. And find what would like to stretch and reach out. Or bend and draw in close. Eventually making your way over to rest on one side or the other. And when you find it, inhale, gently bringing yourself back upright toward any comfortable seat. Maybe it's the same one that you started class in. Maybe not, that's okay too. As you find your seat, just take a moment to see if anything needs a little shrug of the shoulders or a little length for the neck. And then notice the state of your internal atmosphere. And when you find an inhale, send fingertips tall. Exhale, hands to the heart. Such a pleasure and honor and a privilege to practice with you today. Thank you for coming to class, and I hope you have a great day. Namaste.